Good evening, YouTube, my YouTube family. It is December 24th, guys. It is Christmas Eve, so I figured I would put on some Christmas attire. Maybe be a little festive. I don't actually celebrate Christmas, but you know, it is Christmas for those that actually celebrate this time of the year, and I totally respect it. So I am Tamara Johnson Shealy. For those of you that are new to this programming, new to this Tuesday and Thursday evening broadcast, I am Tamara Johnson Shealy. And on this past Tuesday, y'all, I'm moving a little faster than I need to be moving. But on this past Tuesday, we began a conversation with Professor Reginald Muhammad, and we were talking about reparations. So tonight I'm going to share just a little bit more about my candidacy. I'm going to share my screen. And let me go back for a second. Share. Yeah. I'm going to share my screen and share audio just to kind of fill you in on my candidacy and my campaign. I ran for the United States Senate right here in the great state of Georgia. And I ran a strong campaign, and at the top of my agenda was reparations. So I'm going to play this video. Play it from this end. Yes, here we go.
Senator.
So that was my video from the campaign trail to the United States Senate, where I talk very boldly, like I said, about reparations, the need for our repair, the need for redress. I didn't shy away from that conversation, and I never will. This same race here in Georgia, just to give you some insight, this same race to the United States Senate has to be run again in 2 years. So even though it's a 6-year term, the 6-year term does not begin until 2022. This is to conclude the last 2 years of Senator Johnny Isakson's term, who had gotten ill, and Kelly Loeffler was appointed. Now the runoff now between Raphael Warnock and Kelly Loeffler will determine who serves the last 2 years of Johnny Isakson's term. Then this race has to be run again in 2022. So don't count your girl out. But tonight we have Professor Reginald Muhammad. So we're going to bring him into the broadcast, and we're going to continue this conversation about reparations. Let's see where he is. There he is. Professor Reginald Muhammad. Uh-oh, is he frozen? Are you there, sir?
Good evening. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Welcome back. I hope you had a great couple of the last couple of days. Welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for your listening audience, those who are tuned in tonight. We don't take it lightly tonight, and we certainly appreciate and respect the time, because you could be doing so many other things. I'm grateful and appreciative for the opportunity.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we started this conversation on Tuesday about reparations and why reparations was so important. He said, is there going to be a Q&A section? Absolutely. If you guys want to chime in with some questions, chime in, ask questions. Hi, Gwendolyn. Chime in with the questions. Reginald, Professor Reginald Muhammad, I'm sure will be glad for the exchange. So yeah, so we started Tuesday talking about reparations and the need for our redress, and why this is so important, and why we cannot not continue to fight. This was this has been going on, like we mentioned. John Conyers had introduced this back in the late 80s, but this has been going on, for many, many, many years prior to him. It just made it to Congress with him introducing legislation. So can we pick up there?
Yes, and again, as we reminded the audience earlier this week, Black people have been organizing and pushing for reparations and educating about reparations for more than 100 years here in America, and we're still the only brothers and sisters or a group or a body of people who have not gotten or it has not been seriously considered up until recently. And with the great work that all of the organizations have done over the years, we've kept it on the burner and on the forefront now, the whole question of reparations. And so that becomes key. And that's why we're here tonight to hopefully enlighten and give even more information about reparations as we know it.
And you wrote a book. There's some of us that are out here in the streets, in these political streets, as I call them. That's out here stomping, and we all have a role in this. I was talking to a gentleman just last night who's been motivating people and just trying to help us with our mindset as Black people, because some of us are stuck in our thinking. Just last week, I did a 2-part series with historian Robert Thompson, and we talked about the indoctrination of the Black church and the Democratic Party. So this person I was talking to last night is really trying to help Black people with the way we think. There's so much work to do, Professor, in so many different lanes. I say this is like a big puzzle, and all of us have have a little piece of it. And there's so much work to do. Like there's just this massive, the work that needs to be done to get us to a place where we can actually get this reparations and we can move our people forward in this nation.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, I think it is my job, and I've always myself and my motivation, but my job in this massive movement is again to help consolidate the movement, number one. Then make sure we control our own narrative, number two. Number three is to have a national summit on reparations. And then number four is to have a declaration spelling out what reparations is all about. Again, who owe us, how much they owe us, and why they owe us, why it will benefit America, reparations, and why it will benefit Black America, and why reparations.
And you know what? Stay there with that thought, because I'm gonna answer this person's questions. He says, Tamara, just to be clear, are you planning on running again in 2 years? I'm gonna let the spirit move. I'm gonna let God tell me if I'm running again. Right now, we're gonna watch and see what happens between these two candidates, Kelly Loeffler and Raphael Warnock. But I want to talk about, Professor, I want you to really kind of take a moment and do a dive into how this benefits all of America, because I'll tell you along the way, we have some white allies, some Latino allies, we have people of all nationalities that understand that this is something that needs to happen for those of us who are descendants of slavery in this country, to move us out of this bottom caste that we are projected to be in by 2053. I call these people our white allies, the ones that are white. And I say, these are the people that when we were slaves and we were running away from the South, these people fed us. These people pointed us in the right direction. These people hid us under their porches and in their attics. There's a lot of people that aren't very vocal that really will support us in this. And they understand how this will impact the economy for all of America. And so when you look at this and people are like, well, it's only for Black people, but it will help all of America when we think about the monies that are paid in taxes for these social programs. And this is a problem that I have with the Democratic Party. They want to create social program, that social program. I don't want no more damn social programs. Cut the check, give me my land, give me my tractor, and let me be self-determining. And we're in this Kwanzaa season. That's part of the Kwanzaa. Like, we're self-determining. Let us move our people forward. So if you would, Professor, can we kind of start there? Like, this will be a benefit to all of America.
Okay. Well, can I go down? Is it okay if I go down a list real quickly with you?
Don't go quickly. Take your time, brother. Take your time.
Okay. Honestly, in the Declaration, how America would benefit from complete reparations. Number one, it would aid in the restoration of the Black family. Number one. Number two, it would aid in the elimination of systematic Black illiteracy, high school dropout rate, reduce the prison population. Number three, it would aid in the elimination of massive Black violent and nonviolent criminal rate. Number 4, it would aid in the elimination of massive unemployment, homelessness, welfare as we know it today. Number 5, it will aid in the elimination of massive chronic health and mental health problems. Number 6, it will aid in an elimination in massive clash of race and culture. Let me say that again. It will aid in the elimination of massive, constant clash of race and culture. Number 7, it will eliminate massive poverty and dependency on American government, the corporations, and institutions. Number 8, it would eliminate America's pretense of a strong desire to enforce equal justice under the law between the black and white population. Number 9, it would eliminate America's pretense of a strong desire for integration, inclusion, and assimilation. Number 10, it would eliminate America's pretense of one nation under God and liberty and justice for all. This is how America really would benefit from reparations. And one of the things we're going to have to push that and show America, especially those who are against reparations. There are segments of the Black community who are afraid of reparations. And I think I told your audiences earlier this week, when you find Blacks who don't support reparations, generally they're ignorant about it, or they're afraid of what the backlash from, especially from segments of the white ruling class. And so those are just 10 points, and I can elaborate even more, but I wanted to give you at least 10 points of why America would benefit from reparations. And that becomes key. And when America knows that it will benefit, these are not Black people just asking for a check and handout for something that they don't deserve, then we can sit down and talk in a very civil manner and in a very sensible manner of why reparations is due and why reparations will benefit America long term. Because after we get complete reparations, there will be no need for new civil rights legislation. Because again, you put a people in the position, one of the words that you used earlier, one of the things that you used earlier is that we put people in the position now they're self-determining, self-respecting, self-defining, self-developing, and self-defending with complete reparations. Mm-hmm. So it's got to be complete reparations. It can't be political patchwork. It's got to be complete reparations. And then I have a list of how Blacks would benefit from complete reparations for those who are not knowledgeable. But that's all spelled out in the declaration. And whenever you want me to hit some points with that, we can do it.
Dive in. Let's dive in. I think this audience is ready. I'm ready. Okay. Let's go.
How Blacks would benefit from complete reparations. Number 1, it would provide massive Black, let me do this. It would provide massive Black wealth, equipment, and other resources needed to be self-determining, self-sufficient, self-developing, and self-respecting. That's number 1. Let me read that again. It would provide massive Black wealth, equipment, and other resources needed to be self-determining, self-sufficient, self-developing, and self-respecting. Number 2, it would provide the necessary resources needed to restore and transform the Black family and the community. Number 3, it would provide funding for existing expansion and new institutions and development. Number 4, it would provide the necessary funding for public health, mental health, resources to eliminate massive chronic diseases, infant mortality, retroviruses, obesity, and mental instability. That's number 4. Number 5, it would provide the necessary capital for business and banking, manufacturing, trade, investments, goods and services, and defense. Let me read that again. That's a key point. It would provide the necessary capital for business, banking, manufacturing, trade, investments, for goods and services, and defense. Number 6, it would provide massive funding for food, clothing, shelter, and land. And number 7, it would provide the necessary funding for economic investment, sustainability for the remainder of the 21st century. Those are just a few key points that, and many of your audience, I know that they're probably from different reparations organizations, but some of these things that we have talked about in a very broad way, but we've just pointed them out, spelled them out, in a declaration in a chronological order, so people, the average person, can pick it up, whether you're on the campus or whether you're in corporate America or you're on the corner. You can pick it up and say, you know what, this makes sense now. And that's
Let's answer his question, Professor. He said,
okay.
last video, I tried to ask the professor if he had heard of ADOS. Can we finally get an answer on that question? Of course he has heard of ADOS, y'all. But go ahead, Professor. I'll let you answer it.
Yes, I've heard of ADOS, and I've read, looked at the website. I know members here in the local Atlanta area, and I've had talks and discussions around it, and know the great work of ADOS and some of the personalities and leaders in the movement. And I think that they've done a great body of work. So yeah, I'm familiar with ADOS.
Thank you. And one thing I think I want people to understand is, and I hope you can elaborate on this further too, is that, you know, the work that you want to do is not specific to any one group, because what I see is the respect that you have for all the work that has been done, and how, what can we do collectively? And if you want to take that somewhere so that they understand this is not about picking and choosing, but what do we do collectively?
Absolutely. You make a very good point, and thank you for that question, Ms. Shealy, because at the end of the day, if Black people are going to be seriously taken for reparations, we have to consolidate the movement. And no one organization has all the answers. We got great organizations who've done a mighty work, great leadership, and done research. But as I said, when we did the summit back in July, the National Reparations Institute, what I represent, I'm a member of the Nation of Islam. I'm a member of NCOBRA. I'm a member of the National Association of Black Political Scientists. So I'm a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. I'm a member of the fraternal, the National Free and Accepted Masons, Prince Hall. That's what I'm trying to say, Prince Hall Free and Accepted Mason. But out of all of that, what are we doing for Black people? We can come under all of the labels, but at the end of the day, we want reparations for our people. And I think that all of the organizations have done incredible work and a great work, but we have to consolidate the movement. Otherwise, we're not going anywhere. And I challenge anybody in the audience. How is it that we can say that we can ally with European people, Asians and others, and Latinos, but we have not done everything we can to unite with each other? And it's like a relationship. In that relationship, if our relationship and our motivation is correct, we can always find common ground. And I know the differences. We can spend a whole show talking about the differences, but let's be revolutionary. Let's talk about what we have in common and how we can move the ball forward. So in the summit that we'll have coming up again in July, is that I'm not worried about your ideology, your philosophy, or your theology. See, these are the things that divide Black people. And all of us, the same dog that bit me is the same dog that bit most of us. And so we're not going to get tripped up on the labels and say we around here I won't be around here 30 and 40 years, been over looking stupid, talking about I'm pushing for reparations. And the only thing we had to do is implement a model and a methodology and unite the movement, and we could secure reparations. Reparations is not a 10 or 15, 20-year program or process. Anyone who's saying that, I humbly say that you have not studied how others have secured reparations. And so at the end of the day, the model and the methodology becomes key and critical. And in that model and methodology, Ms. Shealy, is that we have to constantly look at how we unite the different factions. And when I say unite the movement, that unity doesn't mean uniformity. It means unity. We're able to work together, and we are striving together because we have one objective or several objectives that we're trying to accomplish in the reparations movement. And hopefully,
let's take some questions.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, let's take. He has another question. He says,
okay.
He would like to ask the professor if he is aware of the Jimmy Dore, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez debacle that has happened recently. I don't even know what that is. So do you know? I don't know. I don't know what that is.
You're talking about Representative Cortez and who else? What was the debacle?
Jimmy Dore.
I'm not familiar with it.
No, we've been on this. If it ain't specific to reparations, maybe it is or it isn't. I don't know. I don't really follow AOC like that. Me either. He wants to know that you post the information for the site on your for the summit on your site. So we'll get to that. You haven't posted it yet, but I'm sure it's coming. We'll get to that.
Yes.
That's coming soon, y'all. Coming soon. We actually had that conversation behind the scenes, so it's
Yeah.
coming.
Thank you. Any more questions?
No, no more questions just yet. You want to
Okay.
continue on?
Okay. And one of the things, is it okay if I talk a little bit more about the Declaration, Ms. Sheely?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, it is a published and bounded work, the National Reparations Declaration, and it's 54 pages. And again, we cite probably about 15, 16 citations in it. So it is not a history and the atrocities of what happened to us. One of my criticisms of the movement is that if you ask the different leadership and the different organizations in the movement, what does reparations look like? We all have points that we like to highlight about reparations, but have we quantified what it looks like, who owe us, what they owe us, and why they owe us? For the common person can look at it and see it. So we purposely, the declaration is not 200 pages. You can get through it probably in 45 minutes to an hour or whatever, but we're able to break the numbers down and give an example. We look at
Before
yes.
you dive into those four areas, will you define collective action for him? He said he just tuned in and he just wants you to define collective action.
Okay. Or now you're talking about the collective culture model that I described, or
The
collective
collective
action.
action of us coming together, like what does that look like to you?
Oh, okay, good. Thank you for the question. That means that in this past July, we had our first summit, and we had over 30 organizations involved. We invited all of the organizations. We sent out press releases, and what that looks like is that we finally sit down collectively, not a conference, not a rally, but a summit where we bring in all the leaders from different organizations and say, this is what we agree upon, and this is how we're going to move reparations forward. Because if we don't do that, we'll end up having segments of the petty bourgeoisie sell out the movement, compromise the movement, or Europeans hijack the movement. And that's my job, is to make sure that that does not happen. That's the job of the National Reparations Institute that I represent. Is my job is to make sure that does not happen. So over a 2 to 3 day period, behind closed doors, without cameras, everybody bring your points and sit down, and let's look at least 9 different areas of reparations that we have to look at: education, public health and mental health, investments, the culture aspect. There are at least 9 different areas that we need to sit down and consider how all of us can come together and say, this is what reparations will look like. And so before we get to Congress, before it comes out of the various hearings and committees in the Senate and in the House, the National Reparations Summit, based on a collective effort, we have all decided what reparations look like. That way we don't get some watered down version. That way we don't, the movement has not been hijacked or compromised. And when they see us working collectively together, Congress and others and politicians, they're going to have to sit down and really consider and deal with reparations, a complete reparations package that will benefit the masses of our people. And I'm talking about this can happen within in 5 to 7 years. We can actually secure reparations, complete reparations for the masses of our people. But again, that requires too that we will send out an invitation again this year. We're asking for all of the heads of different organizations to appoint at least one head of the organization and at least one assistant, so at least 2 representatives from that organization will be able to sit down. And we envision that it will be 75 to 80 people behind closed doors, without any cameras, without it showboating, with anybody posturing about, I'm the leader of this or that. And we sit down and say, you know what? This is how we bring forth the best reparations model and methodology for our people, that we actually secure reparations for Black people in America over the next 5 to 7 years.
Okay, let's bring in some more questions. She says,
Okay.
greetings. Do you think HR 40 needs to be rewritten? That's the
Absolutely.
study.
Well, it is a study, but what I think is that, and then too, they will make some recommendations after that study. What I think needs to happen is that we need to make sure that we do the summit and our final report and the objectives come out of that summit. So when HR 40 does come in, and they look at it seriously and it comes out of committee, they start to vote on it and start to tweak it as public policy, then we should have a report out what reparations look like. And one of the things the Declaration does, it spells out the trillions of dollars that they owe us. And it ain't $15 trillion. It ain't $10 trillion. It's trillions of dollars that they owe us. And we actually systematically break down why and how they owe us. And so we take the emotion out of it. And I think, yes, HR 40 should be impacted. So when they're looking at HR 40, well, they're considering what the National Reparations Institute, the national summit that came about in 2021, what the recommendations came out of that summit, because we got to have a tool to measure, engage what's happening with Congress, whether it's HR 40 or Senate Bill 1038, the core book bill in the U.S. Senate. We got to be able to look at both of those, and we got to be able to influence both of those bills, and how we do that once we come together.
And this 106, yeah, and this Congress is almost over. So, you know, HR 40 may be a bill that has to be reintroduced next session. You know, if it doesn't pass, which, you know, with COVID taking so much of you know, taking precedent right now, I don't know how far we're actually going to get. So, you know, coming back in July, you know, you know, offering this summit and asking leaders to come to the table, I think is phenomenal. Let's see if we got some more questions. We do. We have several more. She said, was ADOS, Yvette Carnell, and Antonio Moore in attendance at this last, the last session that you had, the last summit that you hosted?
They were not, but they were invited, and we sent out an invitation to probably 100-something organizations, and I made sure, and the committee, it was not just me, but it was a committee of 7 people. We all sent out and made sure that nobody was left out who reparations, and if they didn't get it, that's our error. But I remember ADOS was on the list. The Institute of the Black World was on the list. Some of the civil rights organizations was on the list. And some of them reached out, and some of them said that they would not be participating. But yes, and they will be invited again this year to make sure that we've included everybody. And so if ADOS decide that leadership will be there, or they will designate 1 or 2 people to be present, they're certainly going to be welcome. And at the end of the day, because I know the value of the work that ADOS has done, and I know the value of the work that the Institute of the Black World has done. I know the value of the work of NBUF. I know the value of the work of the Nation of Islam. All of us who have done a credible work as it relates to reparations. And we need that.
And we'll add another question. He says, if I am not hearing American descendants of slavery, I don't know who the we is. See what I'm saying? So he's concerned because, you know, ADOS is American descendants of slavery. So they're very specific about the justice claim for those of us who are descendants of slavery. And that's not something I want us to dive into and hash out here, because I know how that conversation, you know, I know we know we're old reparations, point blank, hands down, period. So, but I know that I don't want to take that conversation. Like I say, your mission and your goal is to bring the leaders together. Absolutely. And create a summit, a safe space to Absolutely. Have these conversations. And he also mentions that he said, I heard in Cobra, that sounds like an attempted co-opting. So you see that there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of tension that we're not going to bring to this broadcast, because that's not who I am. That's not what I do. So I know that when that time comes for people to sit down, I think y'all will, those of you that are heads, I hope Yvette and Antonio Moore will sit down with everybody that's there, and y'all really, you know, really work this out. You know, we just want to see, we want reparations, and we want reparations for those of us who know it is for us.
You hear me still?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yeah, you're freezing on me. Let's see, where are you? Yeah, you're here. Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, we back on. We had a little glitch, I guess, for a second. But what I was saying, though, too, again, I want to assure all the ADOS members on there, again, Reginald Muhammad is, I'm very secure in who I am. And so I can sit down with you any day at any time In fact, those who are concerned about it, if you're really concerned about, call me and let's have a conversation and see let's how we can work it out. Because my objective at the end of the day is that, and my motivation is correct, I can sit down and we can meet.
He's freezing up again, y'all. So I'll bring in some
Excuse
more of
me.
the questions. You frozen. Can you hear us now?
Ms. Sheila, are we back on?
Yeah, yeah. You keep freezing. Can you hear me? So his question is, let's
Ms.
see if we
Sheila,
get Mr.
are we back
Yes.
on? Hello?
You want to log out and log back in? Let me see. We having some technical
Ms. Sheila,
difficulties.
can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear us?
I can't hear you.
Log out and log back in. Can you log out and log back in?
I can't hear you.
Okay. He's having some technical difficulties, y'all. But I'll answer some of the questions because I do know that. Is this supposed to be an in-person meeting, or are you projecting it to be virtual? Let's pray that we get past some of this COVID, and I know that this it would be great if we could have it in
Ms.
person.
Sheila, I don't know why I can't hear you.
You need to, can you log out and log back in? He can't hear me at all. Log out and log back in. Let's hope he can. Technically challenged over there. Let me try him on the phone, y'all. Bear with me, y'all. Bear with me. Let's see. Log out, Mr. Muhammad. Can you hear me? It's not your it's not your sound. You just need another connection. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Let's see. Y'all,
Hello?
bear with me, y'all. Let me get him on the phone. Y'all know this is technology. Let's see. He's ringing, y'all. He's ringing. I'm looking at his seat. I'm gonna put him in the lobby. Let's see if we can get him to log back in. Log out and log back in, Professor.
Okay, let me do that.
Okay, all right. All right, y'all. When he comes back, we'll continue the conversation. I think he can read the chat. Hopefully he can. I'll make sure he does when he gets back, log back in. But this conversation, I know, you know, I came through the ADOS movement, y'all. I know what this is. I know that. I'll just tell you, along the way on the campaign trail, it was a lot of spaces and a lot of places that I had to apologize for ADOS, because I know that our hearts are always in the right place. We love our people. We in this fight for real. I love the ADOS movement. I love us. But I can just tell you, along the way, I've had to say, you know, had to apologize, because there were some spaces and some places that I was locked out of because I was affiliated with the movement. And I didn't, you know, I didn't back off of that, because I came through the movement, and I always pay homage to, you know, the movement and what I've learned and the great people. And I'm going to continue to fight for us and continue to fight for reparations. But there was incidents, several along the way, where, you know, I had to say, you know, I'm not coming. I come in peace. I'm not coming here to fight. I'm not coming here, you know, to be disruptive. You know, I come in peace, and I want to talk about reparations for those of us who are descendants of slavery in this country. So I just hope that we, as you know, reparationists, as ADOS, as in whoever in COBRA is, and all these various organizations, I appreciate the fact that Professor Muhammad is saying, let's come together and let's consolidate the movement. Those are his words. How do we have these conversations and figure this out? Because you know what'll happen if all of us, these leaders, decide to come together. We all are going to follow. Like this. Imagine the masses of us with FBA and B1 and all these other, you know, everybody's doing their own thing. But imagine if our leaders got together and said, this is what this is going to look like. Imagine the power we would have, and imagine the allies. Like I said, I know I have allies that are you know, black, white, everything, all kinds of allies. Professor, are you back?
Yes. Can you hear me?
All we have is sound. We have no pic. Your camera's not on.
I wonder why. Let's see. Let's double check here. No. Let's see.
Yeah, we have no camera, but we do have sound. If you can hear us, they were giving you all kind of advice in the chat. Log in and log back out, sir. They were wondering if you could read the chat. Not sure if you can see the chat on your end. Yeah, but I was telling our viewers tonight that just imagine how, you know, the power we would have if our leadership would come together. Can you hear us, Professor Reginald Muhammad? Yeah, he's having some serious technical difficulties. Yep, let me tell him to log out and log back in again, because that's kind of like the only thing you can do with these when you have a terrible connection. Let me see if I can get him on the phone again. Bear with me, guys. Bear with me. Let's get him on the phone. Put him back in the lobby. Log out and log back in again.
All right, we'll do that. Because I can hear you. It's fine, but I don't like it.
You want to talk, y'all? Okay. All right. We are live. Just an aside, I think you can maximize your political ground game by going to other YouTubers to speak on your politics. Thank you, Robert. That great idea. Great idea. You said young Black voters are watching YouTubers more than ever, and I think you can capture some of those voters by appearing on those channels. Good looking out, Robert. Good looking out. Let's see. I think Mr. Muhammad is back. Are you back?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your patience. Let me say this real quick. I want all your audiences to know, and those who are members of ADOS, Reginald Muhammad is not an official in any of the organizations that I mentioned. I have had a long-term membership in those organizations. I don't have any big money. I don't have a big title or any of it. But what you will find about Reginald Muhammad, people who know my history, they know I'm consistent on the reparations question. And there's no organization that I have not worked with academically, community-wise, grassroots-wise, and professional-wise, where I'm able to deal, because I'm very secure in who I am, I'm able to say, you know what? It's not about what I believe ideologically, theologically, and philosophically, but it's about, here's the objective. And if you go online and check my 110-page thesis, The Movement to Secure Reparations for Blacks in America, and an analysis of fragmented models and methodologies, you'll see that I give a critique and a criticism of the whole movement, and even organizations that I have been involved in. That's how secure I am and objective as I am. And at the end of the day, I challenge again those who are listening. If you say you want reparations for Black people in America, then why is it that you can't find common ground to work with any of us on the reparations question? And as I'm talking to you all, I talk this same way to the members of the Nation of Islam. I talk to the same way with members of NCOBRA. There are people who in other organizations, I don't have to mention them, but they disagreed with the declaration. They came to a meeting with me a year ago and said, we're not ready for a declaration. Well, who is it, any of us, to say who's ready for or what we're not ready for? We have to quantify the numbers. We can't just point out the atrocities and talk about, well, my organization has a 10-point plan. But again, what's missing is a model and the methodology for securing reparations. If you don't implement that, we'll be around here in 20 and 30 years. Our grandchildren and great-grandchildren will say, how did y'all fail us with all of the degrees that y'all got, all the education and money y'all got, and y'all were divided over reparations? Come on now.
I just don't want to see I don't want to see the next generation do this work to the extent that we've had to do it in my generation and previous generations. I don't want to see them have to carry this ball. Like we need to get this right. We need to get this right now. We as a people, and here, Black people, y'all hear me good. We as a people just delivered on a silver platter.
Yep.
A White House. We delivered it to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. We gave y'all gave it to them. I didn't. Y'all did. Some of y'all did. I didn't.
I didn't vote for either one of them.
Me either. I'm sure that'll get back to the right spaces. I didn't either. Down ballot it
I'm a
was.
Republican, and I did not vote for the Democratic ticket because it's about public policy. What's the quid pro quo? What is it black people are going to get from elected officials? My thing is that if you're not talking reparations, then the hell with you. Because the only thing I know conclusively, the thing that will the restoration and the transformation of black life in America, the masses of the people, is reparations. Everything else is political patchwork. And I say that as I don't say that as just to sound good or rhetoric or anything like that, but I have looked at this in and out for nearly 30 years and been a part of the process for nearly 30 years.
We just delivered this presidency. We have the House. Joe Biden can't tell me he can't tell me that he can't do any damn thing. You can't tell me that. You can't.
Yeah.
Now they feel like you want a trifecta. I think, you know what? Having this Senate is not going to make us to me, I want a balance in power. Honestly, I'm afraid to have a Republican Congress, House and Senate, and a Republican White House. I want some balance in power somewhere.
Yeah.
I want to have some balance in our thought and in our thinking and in policy. I do.
Yeah.
And I'm not, and looking at these two candidates, I'm just, y'all can have it, because Joe Biden cannot tell us there's anything he can't do for us right now. And the way he talked to these black leaders after they begged for a meeting, and then when he gets them in this room, the way he talked at them, he didn't talk to them, he talked at them. And I was not okay with that. But y'all, we keep giving away our power. As I've said in previous videos, the only thing that we have is the money in our pocket and that vote. And you're mindful about where you spend. You're very mindful about where you spend your money, but you keep giving away that vote for free.
Well, Ms. Sheila, that's my job, and your job is to ensure that does not continue to happen. So I support the withholding the vote. And again, it's got to be reciprocal now. It's got to be a quid pro quo, because if you go to any other group of people, any other organizations who are self-respecting, they're going to tell you, you know what? Okay, if you got our vote, you talking about you want to be president, you want to be mayor or governor, then here's a list of 7 things, and hell, you better sign off on 3 or 4 of them, and it better be, you better be pushing that as far as public policy at some point in time. If not, see, this is where you got a black body of brothers and sisters, the black electorate, still immature and underdeveloped to a degree. Because if you were developed and you were mature, you would say to them, okay, don't even ask for the vote unless here's our agenda. And these are key and critical pieces here. You're going to push this, and we're going to see it in the way of public policy implemented with Congress, with the Senate and the House, or the hell with you. When black people get to that point, then the Democratic Party, the Republican parties, and the Green Party will start to take you serious. Otherwise, you're still political chumps at the end of the day.
And we're the swing vote. We decide how this nation moves. We decide. This country is divided, and we have the power to decide how this nation moves. We have to come together. That's why your work is so important with collaboration. We have to bring these leaders together. They have to sit down, because we, the masses, the rest of us, we gonna move how they say move. And if y'all come together and say, this is how we move, imagine that power.
Exactly. But it becomes key, because 95% of our problem could be solved with our unity. And again, it's not uniformity. So we don't, you can keep your ideology, you can keep your theology and your philosophy, but we should have the sense enough to sit down and say, you know what? Okay, you know what? I read through the Declaration. This is what I agree with. This is what I don't agree with. Let's tweak it here and there, because at the end of the day, we're talking again complete reparations. A government, the city of Atlanta or anywhere else where you may live, say, well, this is reparations. And because some of these cities are attempting to do that now, a couple of corporations saying, well, I'm going to give you a couple $1 billion, and that's reparations. The hell that is. That will only benefit a segment of the bourgeois sector. But what about Pookie, Ray Ray, and Shanae and them, who have been systematically locked out, locked under, and locked in? Yeah, we can overcome that with complete reparations. Because remember, all cities and municipalities, federal or state or local, their job is to provide goods and services and a level of protection for all of its citizens. So don't say that you gave Morris Brown or Clark Atlanta a few scholarships and now that's reparations. No, 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 absolutely not. That's my job, is to make sure that we don't get sold out, and the reparations movement has not been compromised or hijacked by anyone.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's our job at the National Reparations Institute. It's not to push the agenda of no one organization, but collectively we can do this. We can do this. If our motivation is correct, there's not one member of NCOBRA, ADOS. Some of them are mad with me. NBUF, which NAN, National Action Network, Rainbow Push. Some of them are mad with me because the declaration. See, some of us just want to be in the movement 20 years and say that I've been part of the reparations movement. No, we owe a debt to our ancestors. We owe a debt to our children and great-grandchildren to finally solve and secure reparations for the masses of our people. We're at that point in our history. This is not a 10-year. Anybody that's on a 10-year program, you're not really serious about reparations. You're talking philosophy. You want to say that you're a leader of a movement. You want to say that, I got the best plan and I got the best program. You become a struggle hustler. Hustling the struggle.
What?
A struggler. You're hustling the struggle is what you're doing when you want to be in the movement. You say, well, I'm not supporting reparations, because we do say here in the declaration, once complete reparations, there's no more need for civil rights. See, and you're not going to secure reparations marching, picketing, protesting, pleading. That's not how the ruling class, when the Japanese got reparations, the Jews got reparations, and the natives got reparations, they didn't do half of the work that we have already done collectively. But the ruling class said, and you won't find this in a textbook, but I teach this at the university level. The quadruple base theory says that all political and economic decisions by that ruling class, and I'm not being silly, and I'm not talking about all white people, I'm talking about a ruling class. The senators, 100 U.S. senators, and the hundreds of U.S. representatives. Generally, they make all of their political and economic decisions based on 4 variables or 4 components. Will it enhance or ill affect, number 1, their power base, number 2, their profit base, number 3, their policy base, and number 4, their privilege base. They will make a decision on reparations based on that quadruple base theory also. Mm-hmm. I can prove that and have argued the best scholars off the stage when I show them conclusively how America makes the decision. Give an example. You saw them, the first stimulus package, they moved $3 trillion in 2 weeks. In a matter of weeks, they moved trillions of dollars. Why? Because it was ill affecting their profit base. And the Wall Street bankers, segments of the ruling class, said, wait a minute, we got to do something now. So they moved to more than $2 trillion within 2 weeks. The second stimulus package, they're going to move it. Trump said the other day that he was that he wanted to he wanted $2,000 for each individual family as opposed to the $600. Well, the ruling class have told him as of today, no, you're not going to let this government shut down because you will ill affect the economy when most of the retailers, 30 to 35% of their net will happen during the holidays. The hell you will shut this down. In fact, the stimulus package that the House and the Senate has, which is nothing but peanuts for the masses of the people, but they're going to pass that in the up and coming days. They're not going to allow Trump to shut that down because, again, retailers and segments of the ruling class have said to him, okay, enough of your antics. Okay, we with you and all of that. But you better not allow the government to shut down. Go ahead and sign the stimulus package that the House and the Senate, even though you said the $600 is not enough money. But as of today, I just heard on my way into the office is that at the end of the day, he's agreed now he is going to go ahead and sign it. All of their political and economic decisions are based on 4 variables. or will it enhance or ill affect their power base, their profit base, their policy base, and their privilege base? They will decide reparations based on that also, those variables.
Well, it's just not, it's just, we just as bodies of movements, all of us in these different movements that we're in, we just need to figure, the leaders need to figure it out. We need to figure it.
We can figure it out. This is not rocket science. And again, if our motivation is correct, everyone will come to the summit, because you don't lose anything, and the masses of our people gain. And I'm saying, I know that there's some ill feelings from all of the camps, but Reginald Muhammad has worked and will be working with all of the camps, not pushing my philosophy, not my ideology or my theology, but reparations for the masses of our people, complete reparations. And I ask that everyone who's listening to the broadcast tonight, read through the declaration before you be critical of it. And you'll see that it's not just hearsay, it's not rhetoric, it is documented. We've quantified the trillions of dollars they owe us, why they owe us, and how much they owe us, and who owe us. Because one of the things that I've seen, Ms. Sheila, in the movement is that we could talk about the federal government, we could talk about select multinational corporations, but what about some of the nonprofit organizations that owe us? And what about the more than 40,000 plantations that are still existing today? Some of them under different names, nonprofits as well as profitable organizations. But you can see they made their fortune off the enslavement and trafficking of Black people.
Yeah.
So those are the four bodies that we look at in the declaration. And when we ask people to read the declaration and give me your call me up or email me, give me your critique or criticism, because at the end of the day, Reginald Muhammad does not have all the answers, but I have enough sense enough to know that we have to consolidate the movement, and we got to make sure nobody hijacks the movement, and we got to have a summit. All the other world leaders come together. When Russia comes, China, other European nations, and America sit down in a summit, they disagree on some things, but they know if they're going to continue to be the superpowers, and if they're going to reach their objectives, there has to be some negotiation. There has to be some collaboration, and there has to be some advocation. And so that's what the summit is about. And again, we'll be able to.
Let me ask you. So July of 2021 is the projected date. And then someone asked a little while you were off, is it going to be virtual for these leaders? Will you want them to come to come together at a location? Like, what are you envisioning?
Well,
I guess COVID, depending on COVID.
Yeah, absolutely. And we did it in person and virtually. We had it at the Apex Museum where we were allowed to social distance. And then with some people, part of the crew came in virtually. We had it Zoom. And so people from out of town and out of state, they were able to participate in the summit. As far as California, New York, DC, Florida, we had participants from various states who participated in the summit, but some of us was actually on the scene at the Apex Museum because we had enough square footage to be able to distance ourselves and allow the various presenters to present. And I did
an auditorium at the Apex, so you were able to.
Yes, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So we'll do it this time. We'll make it bigger and better, because we'll hopefully, Ms. Sheila, you and maybe some representatives from ADOS will be on the committee as we plan the summit. So bottom line, we want to include everybody. When we first did a meeting back in January of 2020 here at the National Reparations Institute here in Atlanta, we had 33 participants, and many of them was from different organizations. Some of them were non-reparationists per se, but they represented a diversity of civil rights organizations, college and students, youth. There were nationalist organizations there. There were religious organizations there. Some of them from churches, believe it or not. Some of the church members were there. There were very few members from, I was maybe two other people from the Nation of Islam. But I made sure that invitation went out, and it went out. We had college professors here, female and male. We had investors here. We had economists here. Attorney Maoli Davis was here from the Davis Bozeman Law Firm. We had Reverend Slaughter from WAOK. You and I, friends, he was here. Dr. Chika Akur, who's one of the great educators, but comes from an African-centered perspective. He was here. Dr. Sam Livingston from Morehouse. Dr. Stephanie Dunn from Morehouse. And these are people who are not part of organizations that I'm a part of, but they thought of it not to be robbery if they came and sat with their little brother here at the National Reparations Institute, because they knew my motivation and my objective was sound. They came and they sat for 2 hours, and we talked about how we consolidate the movement. How do we make sure that everybody's included, and that we're on the right road for securing reparations for Blacks in America. And so that's where we agreed. And there were members from NCOBRA here, but there were members who were in NCOBRA who disagree with me on my position on reparations. That's okay. But at the end of the day, we're going to have a summit again, and we're going to have representatives from all the organizations who want to be involved.
Yeah. And someone asked about getting the invitation. You're really trying to keep this to the heads, the leadership, so that it doesn't become something that is overwhelming and confrontational. I'm sure you're trying to keep it very,
Oh, absolutely. Well, what we will do is that, like we did in the past, we will send an invitation with the heading to that particular organization, asking for the leadership to be involved in it, and appoint 1 or 2 people to represent them at the summit. And it could be the leadership or whoever they designate. But we don't want to. The key is it's not a conference and a rally. So we don't need 300 or 400 people there. We need people who are on the ground doing reparations work, like many of y'all are, and your leadership to say, you know what, as the chair of your organization or the co-chair of your organization, I'm going to be there, and I got one other person who knows public policy. I'm going to have them there. And so we want to, and so we envision it again. It will probably end up being 60 to 70 people, because we got enough organizations out there who are pushing and advocating for reparations.
And I think, this is, to me, until we can figure out how to come together, I don't like the fighting. Like I said, it was spaces and places along the way that me as a candidate running with the reparations agenda, there was one interview that I dang near had to just it took me, this lady did not want to interview me. And it wasn't because I wasn't a good candidate. She did not want her name affiliated with the ADOS movement. And she made it real clear. But I had to really help her.
The Black woman?
This was one of the interviews that I eventually was able to get, that I wasn't, it just took me a minute. So my point is with this story is, I'm tired of the fighting. I'm tired.
I am.
I think that gets us anywhere with this movement. It doesn't help anybody like me that, might run again, or, anybody that's out there that's going to run. We cannot fight. Black people, we don't need to be fighting. So whatever it takes for our leaders to get this right, if you got to put them in a room and say, look, we're going to close the door. Like you say, no cameras. We don't need no nothing, but let's talk this out. Let's figure this out. And this is not, he said, is the summit recorded for viewers? I don't think it should be. If it is, I hope it's not.
No, if there will be some presentations that will be recorded, but at the end of the day, if we're seriously talking about strategizing and mobilizing the masses of our people and affecting public policy, that we have to go behind closed doors. See, people who are self-respecting and self-determining, they do that all the time. The Jewish people do that all of the time. There's a segment of the gay LGBTQ community, they make decisions about public policy. A lot of times the public does not know what their agenda is until they make that agenda public. Black people got to do the same thing. We got to be able to talk, and again, check your egos at the door. Check your the egos at the door, the chauvinistic attitude about our place and our position. We got to be able to do all of that and say, you know what? The objective is, again, reparations. And see how I know you're not really wanting reparations? Then if you're not willing to sit down with Reginald Muhammad and talk to me, when I don't have no big money or no big title, and I know the value of everybody's work, and this is how I talk. Anybody that knows me, they'll tell you Reginald Muhammad is sat down with every organization, church, religious or otherwise. I'm a member of the Nation of Islam. That doesn't mean I don't sit down and talk with others who have a different faith tradition than I. See, we do this with white people all the time, but why is it that you can't find the room and the space to do it with yourself? Because as much as we have badly we have been treated, not by all, but across the board by a majority of European people, we always want to find a way to work out whatever our differences is. And I'm saying we got to spend that same energy and time to work out our differences, because at the end of the day, we got to be able to agree on some trillions of dollars and where that money go to. The land question in the reparations movement, they owe us. At one point in time, Black people had over 14 million acres of land. We're down to less than 2 million acres of land today.
Yeah.
You're not free. You're not free and self-determining if you don't have any land where you can grow and provide food, clothing, and shelter for the masses of our people.
So we're gonna, you know what, we're at the top of the hour, Professor
Yes, ma'am.
Reginald Muhammad. I want to thank you, sir, for giving me and my audience your time for these last two, this past Tuesday and tonight.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, we're going to continue this conversation about reparations. I'm not stopping. You're not stopping. The summit is coming up in 2021. We're going to see how this race here in Georgia to the United States Senate, how it actually pans out. If you don't know about Withhold the Vote, please go to the website, learn more, join the movement, be a part of what I'm doing. It is, you know, this is the work that needs to be done. We have to have more and more boots on the ground, and we got to keep our eye on policy across this nation. So this is our approach. This is my approach to staying in the game, because I won't be in Congress, but guess what? We're going to keep our eye on everything that they're doing coming out of that United States Senate and coming out of that House of Representatives. So please go to the website, learn more, join the movement, get on board, and let's really, really do this work. So Professor Reginald Muhammad, I want to thank you for joining us tonight. I will absolutely have to have you back in the new year. And I just thank you.
Can I give some contact numbers? Anybody want to see me later?
Yep. And I'm gonna put your website and everything in there, but go ahead and say it too.
Okay, real quick. Please read the National Reparations Declaration. It is a framework. It's not the end all and the be all, but it is a framework so we know at least how to measure and gauge where the movement is and where we need to go particularly. And again, please call me. You got any concerns about that, anything I failed to address in this short broadcast, please call me directly. And honestly, you'll see that I'm not a monster. I will sit and talk with you, reason with you, and allow you to hear your side of it. And again, the objective is reparations for the masses of our people. Thank you all so much for your time. Thank you for your attention. And Ms. Shealy, thank you for having the courage to have me on and allowing me to be questioned by your audience. I thoroughly something from an audience. Appreciate you, and just let me know if I can be of any assistance. Let's move the reparations ball forward. All power to the people, and thank you all so much. Good night.
All right, stay with me. Don't go anywhere. You stay with me. So before you go, don't click off, Professor. I'm going to come back. So he wanted to know, can I get your opinion on Warnock and Ossoff before you leave? Yes, sir. Withhold the vote. That is my opinion. Have a good night, everybody.